supporters of ITN, News at 10 with Trevor McDonald.
Clark says John Major's enemies are my enemies too. Sealed with a handshake, the Major-Thatcher reunion. Birmingham 6 detectives, judge says their trial wouldn't be fair. And the teenager who killed with a stolen car gets 7 years. Good evening. The Prime Minister got a handshake from his predecessor Lady Thatcher in Blackpool today and a solid statement of support from his new Chancellor Kenneth Clarke. Mr. Clarke said any enemy of John Major was an enemy of his and an enemy of the Conservative Party. Mr. Major's party has been pushed to the right this week with tough populist proposals on crime and benefit scroungers. Tonight, the Foreign Secretary Douglas Hurd sounded words of caution. He said the Conservatives had to show they valued teachers, nurses and police and not go on relentlessly reforming the public services. Our chief political correspondent Glyn Mathias reports from Blackpool.
This was the moment the party managers had feared, the conference rising to applaud the entrance of Lady Thatcher after a week overshadowed by damaging leaks from her memoirs. For many of the party faithful, she remains a reminder of better times for the party, what John Major once called the golden age that never was. But some pointedly refused to join in the usual ovation, regarding her presence as an unwanted distraction. Half an hour later, John Major waited anxiously in the wings for his turn to mount the platform. It was a handshake, not a kiss this time. But the applause for him was louder and certainly more universal in the hall. His supporters said it showed the party felt he was the leader for today. And together they listened to this ringing pledge of loyalty from the Chancellor, Ken Clarke.
Any enemy of John Major is an enemy of mine. Any enemy of John Major is an enemy of the Conservative Party.
Whatever reservations she's expressed about John Major in her memoirs, today Lady Thatcher has been urging her supporters to give John Major a clear run, at least until after the next election. The first public appearance of Michael Heseltine since his heart attack last June gave the conference even more to feel good about. No speech, but a vigorous display of his return to fitness. But behind the theatre of reconciliation in the conference hall, a battle has been developing over the future of government policy. In the last 48 hours, there's been a distinct shift of the agenda to the right, but it's not going unchallenged.
The Right Honourable Michael Portello.
Tonight at a fringe meeting, the darling of the right, the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, put himself at the vanguard of those calling for further measures to reduce the role of government, especially in social and welfare policy.
Personal responsibility has been undermined by a state that does too much. Where the state does too much, it crowds out and it confiscates responsibility. You cannot increase the role of the state without diminishing the scope for the individual. Nannying by the state can have very baleful, if unintended, consequences.
But the Foreign Secretary, Douglas Hurd, tonight issued a warning to the right not to stage a vendetta against the state and against public servants.
We shouldn't give the impression that we believe in a sort of permanent cultural revolution in the style of Chairman Mao or Comrade Trotsky. We don't want to break the mold of every public service afresh in every parliament. We must show that we are not driven by ideology to question every function of the state.
The Prime Minister, in his speech tomorrow, is expected to strike a right-wing tone, stressing a return to traditional Conservative values. Glyn Mathias, News at 10, Blackpool.
Our political editor Michael Brunson joins me now from Blackpool. Michael, a right-wing tone from the Prime Minister tomorrow. What will he say?
Well, it's going to be a 45-minute speech. The text is about that long. It'll in fact expand a bit because he's not going to use the autocue. He's up there, up those stairs, putting the last-minute touches to it. Traditional values, yes, it's going to stress things